The South African Social Security Agency and Postbank are appealing to grant beneficiaries to replace their SASSA Gold cards with the new Postbank Black cards by the end of the month. Now, should beneficiaries fail to get this right before the deadline, they'll be unable to access their payments. After the deadline, gold cards, we're told, will no longer be functional for any transaction. Let's answer some of the frequently asked questions and bring in SASSA spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi, who joins us now via our video link. Great to have you on the program, sir. Thanks very much indeed for making time. We really thought this is a great opportunity to put some of those frequently asked questions to you and by extension to the public. So let's just start by getting an understanding of why this migration is taking place to begin with.
Good afternoon, Ayanda, and thanks for having me. I think we may just explain that there was an identification by the central bank in terms of the security features of these cards. These cards were supposed to have ceased to operate close to 3 years ago. However, because of the interaction between the Postbank and the central bank, there was an extension. This is the third extension which was given to Postbank, and I think the deadline was then set for the 28th of February so that people are able to exchange and move from a SASSA Gold card to a Black Postbank card.
Yeah. I suppose then the question is whether or not we're confident as SASSA that this time around people are heeding the call. What are some of the numbers looking like about how many people have in fact exchanged their cards as this deadline looms?
The numbers are still very low, and I must confess. Out of 3.5 million people who have the SASSA Gold cards, just above 1 million people have swapped the card. Hence, we thought it's important for us to go out together with Postbank to make sure that we talk to the public and encourage them to make sure that they swap. Because the unfortunate part of it, Ayanda, is that on the 1st of March, unfortunately, this card would cease to exist. In fact, on the 28th of February, they will cease to exist, to operate. And if someone goes and tries to transact on the 1st of March, but obviously because the payment starts from the 3rd of every month, they would want to go to the bank and do the transaction. And unfortunately, the card won't be operational.
If history is anything to go by, we know a lot of people will leave this to the very last minute. Are you ready for that anticipated influx of people who will start flocking to wherever they need to do this exchange?
I think the Postbank, it is ready. We have daily meetings with them, and they have indicated basically to us that they are trying everything in their power to make sure that they help people to make sure that they swap the cards, because they understand. Remember, as much as the clients or the beneficiaries get money from Postbank, they remain the beneficiaries of the South African Social Security Agency, and we have an interest to make sure that their plight is being attended to. We hope that because of the campaign that we have embarked on together with the Postbank, people will heed to the call and make sure that they change the cards. We don't want people to suffer on the 1st of March and call us and complain that they haven't changed their cards. We are appealing to them that please heed the call, make sure that you go and change the card as soon as possible.
We know a lot of the beneficiaries are those who receive old age pension in the country, and given their health conditions, etc., this is usually facilitated by a younger member of the family. When exchanging these cards, do these beneficiaries themselves, in this case the elderly, need to be present?
No, I understand. A Postbank, it's like any other bank. You don't send someone to go and change your card at other commercial banks. You go there yourself. I'm sure you know that if you have to delegate that responsibility to anybody, I'm sure me and you know that you'll be opening up the floodgates for fraud. However, with SASSA, we have what we call legally a procurator, which individuals are entitled to appoint a procurator, but you can only appoint a procurator in case where a person is frail or the person lives with a disability to an extent that they are unable to go there themselves. But there are processes which are proper, which needs to be followed to make sure that people change, or they appoint someone to be a procurator. You don't just necessarily say a member of the family must come or must go and exchange a card for you, because I'm sure you know that we will definitely be opening floodgates for fraud to start taking place.
I agree with you, absolutely. But I also know of many families who are in a situation where the beneficiary is frail, for example, and can't necessarily stand in long queues. What kind of steps do they need to take then to get this process right of getting a procreator? And as you answer that question, do they have enough time to do that in time for this deadline?
They do, and we have to work 24 hours around the clock to make sure that we help beneficiaries. We have daily meetings with Postbank, like I mentioned earlier, or just to get the report in terms of how the numbers are going, just to get the report in terms of the bottlenecks. But obviously, we would expect beneficiaries, if they have the procurator, obviously, they don't have to apply from scratch. But if the condition of an individual has changed, they can be in touch with both Postbank, or they can be in touch with the South African Social Security Agents. And we, from both SASSA and Postbank, understand the agency of the matter. Certain things have to be done and be done quickly, so that people do not necessarily complain come month end that they did not get necessary support from both Postbank and SASSA.
Yeah, I know some people receive their grants through normal commercial banks. Just to clarify the air, those people shouldn't be affected by this process.
Thank you very much, Ayanda, for that question. I think we need to clarify that if you get your grant through necessary or normal banks, commercial banks, you don't necessarily have to change anything, because you are not getting your money into the SASSA Gold Card, which is going to cease to operate. So colleagues or beneficiaries who perhaps in this instance are getting their money through the commercial banks, they don't have to worry. We have spoken to our colleagues all over the country in our local offices, in particular as well the call center, so that when people call, they are able to share this information to the public or to the beneficiaries, so that they understand, in particular those who are using the commercial banks.
Is it not advisable then, Paseka Letsatsi, and I'm not sure if I'm inadvertently propping up commercial banks here, but is it not better to just get everyone getting their SASSA through these banks, given just how it seems, at least from where I'm sitting, that is the more sure and less disruptive way to ensure that people get their money month on month without necessarily having to deal with any other changes that may arise from any of the SASSA-administered banking systems?
And I'm sure you don't want me to be taken to court that I am lobbying for commercial banks against
Sure.
Postbank.
Sure.
And Postbank operates like any other bank, and it is the right of an individual when they apply for a grant to choose whatever platform which they would want to use. It is there in terms of the policy, it is their right, and we don't want to trample on it. So it is the right of individuals to make sure that when they apply, they are asked the question which bank they would want or which method of payment they would feel comfortable to choose. And I think we don't want to take that right from the beneficiary.
Okay, fair enough. Let me ask the question this way then. As this migration happens, are people at liberty to opt not necessarily to go for the Postbank, but any other commercial bank instead?
Definitely.
Sure.
People have the freedom to choose. That is why when you sign a form there, when you make an application, there's a part where you are asked which method of payment you prefer as an individual, and you are not obliged to choose any other bank or to be directed to a single bank. A beneficiary has got the right to say, I am no longer happy with Bank X, I want to use Bank Y. So it is the right of the individual. We have taken the authority, or we have taken the right to make a decision into the hands of a beneficiary.
All right. Well, I suppose that's important information, especially when you consider, of course, just how many people rely on this kind of aid from the state. So, Paseka Letsatsi, hopefully from your words or your mouth to the millions of people who still need to undergo this process. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Paseka Letsatsi, of course, is the spokesperson for SASSA.